Kept you waiting, huh? And I am so sorry. This was not planned. This is not something I wanted to happen, but hey, stuff happens. But in this week's episode of Wise News, we look into Ninja leaving Twitch for Mixer. Why? I don't know. Money. It was definitely money. Someone heavily involved in the gaming industry thought it would be a really good idea to hack into the E3 database or web network and decided it would be a good idea to dox thousands of journalists. And the Republicans give me another reason not to vote for them. All this and a couple more at the end. This is Wise News. Oh my god, I just sweat like a pig, don't I? Welcome back to Wise News. Yes, I'll go ahead and get the apology out of the way. I had an unforeseen thing come up at work. We are a state-funded center out here. They decided not to really let us know about budget cuts, but I am back, and I'm planning on doing a ton of content for you guys. But before we get into the worst news of the day, why don't we talk about a nice thing that happened? Psyonix Studios, the makers of Rocket League, who were recently acquired by Epic Studios, have now decided that they will take out loot boxes from their game and will instead make it to where you know exactly what you're purchasing, when you purchase it, and exactly what you wanted to purchase. This is really nice to hear. Very glad to hear it. I still don't like the microtransactions. Let's take a couple steps in the right direction then. But yes, our first news story of the day is Ninja is leaving Twitch for Mixer. The number one reason, a lot of money. Mixer most likely paid this guy tons of money to move over from Twitch to Mixer, and I've tried to go over just, how much would it take for Ninja to move off of Twitch. I've seen some people put up the number of, his brand has gotten so big, he hosts such a big audience that 50 million is not a bad number to guess at to get him to move his entire, operation over to another streaming service, and it's a very good idea. I mean, if I were him, I would take that deal, but I'm just a insignificant little speck in the internet gaming world. But yes, he is moving over. I think it'll be very good. I think he averaged 7,000 viewers the first time he streamed. I went over to watch that real quick. Obviously, it's not for me. I don't play Fortnite very much, but glad to see the guy's doing good. And for smaller channels like mine, it's a nice, promising little prospect that we could possibly reach. Something even just below that would be fine with me if I could make this a job. But moving on. But yes, our second news story of the day, the ESA. What the heck is the ESA? It is the Entertainment Software Association, basically, lobbyists for politicians and products and things like that. Basically, the ESA is the advocacy group or the lobbying group. They're not good people for other reasons, but this one specifically, the ESA got caught putting their hand in the cookie jar trying to find out a bunch of information about over 2,000 journalists that attended E3. And when you go to that link for that kind of information, there isn't a whole lot of excuses you could come up with to actually, help yourself there. Now, the sad thing is, I'll save this for the third story, but basically, the ESA has not put out any statement that I can find as of yet. If you can find one, go ahead and send it to me on here or whatever. But I have not been able to find a single statement saying anything about this, why they needed this information, why they did what they did. It could be very easy for them to come out and say, it was a rogue element in our organization or whatever, but the ESA is not good people, and that's all I can really say about it. The ESA are not really working in our best interests most of the time, and in this situation, they are not working in most people's interests. But on to the third news story of the day, which actually ties back into the second one. If you're from America, the phrase "the Republicans" will mean something to you, and this is just another reason for me not to like them or vote for them in the future. Now, sadly, if you don't know, there were some shootings that occurred maybe a couple days ago in El Paso and Dayton, Ohio. Basically, there were several people killed, several wounded at these shootings, and sadly now I have to refrain from making any jokes because this is a serious issue. The Republicans in America have used video games for a very long time, since about the 1990s, to try and distract from any kind of gun legislation, things like universal background checks or anything like that. The reason they pick this issue out, the reason they will come back to video games is They know that the video game industry is so entrenched, that it is so mainstream, that it is so wealthy, that nothing is actually going to happen. But the sad thing is, when someone like the ESA that I mentioned in the second story uses this and finds it, they can use this and talk about that. Put that out front of any, bad things they've done, and simply put out a statement. We're defending video game publishers and video, gamers and things like that. When they're not actually. They're working on the, interest of bigger people. And Donald Trump had this to say.
Second, we must stop the glorification of violence in our society. This includes the gruesome and grisly video games that are now commonplace. It is too easy today for troubled youth to surround themselves with a culture that celebrates violence.
Yes, Republicans are using this as a distraction from actually, helping the situation. We've had a very bad issue of, gun violence in America, and one of the ways you can stop that is actually hurting many people who do own their guns legally and use them responsibly. Sadly, that is one of the things that would have to happen. Once you start drying up the availability of guns, then you can actually start helping the situation. But yes, all in all, a distraction by Republicans or right-wing people in America to distract from actually helping the situation. So if you live in the UK, Europe, or anywhere that isn't America, enjoy not being shot. Oof, you gotta love when your footage gets corrupted. Am I right or am I right? Anyway, I had one or two extra things I wanted to share with you guys. A new story that came out pretty recently that Xbox, Sony, and Nintendo are going to start requiring that companies disclose, when they release their games, loot box odds, and it's a step in the right direction. I'm kind of thankful for it, but at the same time, it's not the end. This is not the end point. We want loot boxes out completely, but this is a step in the right direction, albeit. And finally, our last quick news story of the day is that ESPN will no longer run a Apex Legends tournament that was going to be shown on the network. And it's because of Republican propaganda. Once again, the Republicans are simply putting the blame off on something else. That way they don't have to do anything. Sadly, it's people who are doing literally nothing wrong, playing a video game, and trying to, take their passions and win money doing it, playing a video game they love. They get hurt in the process. So sadly, that is the last news story of the day. Sorry I couldn't end it on something a little brighter. But yes, I thank you guys for watching the wisest channel on the internet. Join the Wise Clan by subscribing today, and I will see you all next time. 10 Wise, out.